what I see happen with a lot of women is they'll see, oh, my friend got on keto, or my friend got on paleo, or my friend got whatever. And they won't get the same results. And they'll wonder why. Well, because you're unique and you need something very unique to you. And so that's a big thing I would remember is listen to your body. Be aware of what your body is telling you. And also know you need something that's customized for you. There are some principles. Generally, people need more protein. Generally, you need the healthy fats. But again, understand you're unique.
Welcome back to the Health Series. Today is part 1 of 2 with Dr. Josh Axe. This conversation's so good, I wanted to break it up into 2 parts. We talk about the importance of great health, self-care, supporting your hormonal or digestive health. We talk about fats and proteins and collagen and bone broth and very surprising thyroid research and sourdough bread's health benefits. How about that? It's so good. Again, this is just episode 1 of 2 that I'm so excited for you to hear. Okay, now without further ado, here's part 1 of 2 with the amazing Dr. Josh Axe. Dr. Josh Axe, I am so excited to have you on the show. I have had you on my list of dream guests for years and years. We are in the middle of a health series. It is the perfect time to have you on. Welcome.
Hey, Alli, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be so fun. So most of the women listening, they're between the ages of 35 and 45. They have raised great kids. The kids aren't little anymore. They've built a company. They've risen through the ranks in their career. And they're starting to look around and go, maybe it's time I take care of my health. Maybe it's time I actually pay attention to myself. I'm speaking for myself at 48 years old. That's what I did all of a sudden. Went, I actually need to not just get by on how long can I work at my computer every day. So for women in that age group, what 3 things do you wish every woman knew about her health?
Oh, goodness. Well, I would say, I don't think, and again, that demographic specifically, when I used to run my functional medicine clinic in Nashville, that was my biggest demographic. And it still is today for the most part that I work with. So let me say this. The biggest thing that surprised me when I opened up my functional medicine clinic was how many women coming in had hypothyroidism, were tired, exhausted, overwhelmed. So I want to get into that as number 1. And so I would say that there's not enough women who, schedule time for themselves. Now I know what I'm going to hear. I mean, moms are like, I don't have time for myself. I couldn't possibly. And and maybe you're working and a mom. I mean, that's a lot. So, but I would say, strategically planning out your week. That's one of the biggest, most important things you can do for your health is looking at and saying, okay, I'm going to create some time for my spouse, my kids, but also for me. So I'm going to schedule some things I love to do and that are good for me. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to schedule 3 days a week to go to the gym for 45 minutes. I'm going to make sure I'm eating good. So really, I think before I even get into practical things, I really think having a plan in place and making yourself a priority along with your family, along with God, I would do that. So that's the first thing I would say is that you need to have a plan. The second thing I would say is, you really want to focus on supporting hormone balance and digestive health. Those are really the 2 areas that both influence autoimmune disease, hypothyroidism, just not feeling well, aging more quickly. And so if you can really focus on, hey, I'm going to be kind to my gut, kind to my hormones. And so some practical ways to do that. One, with digestive health, I would say most women in today's society believe that eating a lot of vegetables, like raw salads, wraps, that sort of thing is really good for them. If you have hypothyroid or low body temperature, which a lot of women do, actually 60% of people that have hypothyroidism don't even realize they have it. So it's quite a few people. And it's not just that. A lot of people have autoimmune. In fact, there's this recent study that found that a lot of people have autoimmune and they just don't realize it, especially if you're just joint ache or you just don't feel great. So what you really should be doing is you should be doing a lot of meat and a lot of vegetables, but the vegetables should be cooked. Okay. So doing more homemade soups is very, very good for you. Doing, a lot more meat. In fact, women don't get near enough protein in most cases. I think most women should be shooting for about 30 grams of protein 3 times a day. Well, I think that's something that a lot of women are missing. For digestive health specifically, most women should be probably taking a probiotic. I think that would really do them a lot of good. And then I think hormonally, I think that getting more good fats is very, very important, particularly wild caught fish, nuts, like specifically walnuts and flax seeds, and then probably also getting some coconut, avocado, and extra virgin olive oil. Those fats alone would just really help with a lot of hormone balance. And then vitamin D, just being outside, walking more, that's going to help the gut and digestive system. And then the third thing I would say that women need is to focus on spiritual health. I think that one of my practices that I love that's transformed my life is I do in the morning a spiritual triathlon where I'll spend time. I'll first get outside and go on a quick walk, a just gratitude walk, praise God, say everything I'm thankful for. Right after that, I'll come in and read my Bible, and typically I'll have a superfood smoothie. The ingredients in that, I typically do a scoop of a bone broth protein or collagen powder. So a scoop of collagen and a scoop of a plant protein. Okay. And I'll do that with maybe half a cup of blueberries and a little coconut milk. You're getting those healthy fats, you're getting those nutrients in the berries and some fiber, and you're getting the 30 grams of protein I just mentioned when you do that. And then after gratitude walk, reading my Bible, spend a few minutes in prayer, and great for the day. Most women today, in terms of what's causing them to not be healthy, it tends to be emotional stress is a really big one. And part of that is due to not enough downtime and not enough time scheduled to do things that you enjoy. And then some dietary misses. Again, most women think I should just be eating a lot of salads and raw vegetables and things like that, when in fact, most women should be doing more warming vegetables that are cooked.
Can I ask real quick? Can I jump in and ask why cooked? What's the key there?
Yeah, well, you need to warm your internal body temperature. If you're going, that's one of the symptoms of hypothyroid and even a lot of autoimmune people is that, and even if you're not fighting infections well, if you got Lyme or something like that, or if your energy's low, a lot of times your body temperature is not 98.6. It's 98.2 or 97 point something. And so raw vegetables are harder to digest. So they're harder on your gut. And and not to say, listen, if you're in late spring or midst of summer and you're pretty healthy, then you should do some salad. You should do raw vegetables. But if you're a person who generally needs to get well, you have some health things that are obstructing you, cooked vegetables are easier to digest and they're more warming to the body. They'll actually help warm your body to start to fight against and rebalance your body, your thyroid hormones in particular.
Okay, fascinating. Sorry to jump in, but I my mind has been on, okay, why cooked vegetables? That's so fascinating.
Yeah. And again, it could be soups. It could be steamed vegetables. Maybe you dip them in hummus or some cashew cheese you buy at Whole Foods. It could be baked, cover them in some coconut oil or grass-fed butter with some salt and herbs and bake them in the oven or saute them, however you want to do them. But it would benefit most people from doing that.
That makes sense. Okay. I have so many questions to throw at you, and I love it that anything I ask you, you have expertise in it. So you mentioned bone broth or collagen. I do bone broth. I've yet to find a collagen for me that tastes in a powder in the way that I can't taste it. So I just do bone broth. But what's a powder that won't taste like I'm sucking on a horse's hoof? And so many women in my age category and older and younger want to know, will it actually affect my skin? We know it's good for the gut. We know it's great for the body. Is it actually doing anything?
Well, the clinical studies say yes. When you look at the one that we use, that's the most, that definitely has clinical studies. In fact, we have on our packaging of the company I own, it says, clinically studied ingredients. It does impact it. It's been shown to reduce fine lines. It's been shown to hydrate the skin. It's been shown to create more firmness and suppleness in the skin. So, and here's the thing to remember, 90% of your skin is collagen. Of all the areas of your body, it's the most collagen rich. Secondarily are going to be your nails and your hair. And then after that, it's going to be your gut lining and your joints. Actually, joints and skin are close. Joints are also very, very high. But so yes, it absolutely is going to help. I would say most women need about at least 10 grams a day, if not 20 grams of a collagen protein. And again, now bone broth is 90% collagen. It also contains glucosamine, chondroitin, and hyaluronic acid. A lot of people go and get hyaluronic acid injections for joints or for anti-aging of their skin. And so I think actually bone broth is just as good or a step up from taking a regular collagen supplement for what it actually does because of the extra hyaluronic acid that's naturally occurring in chicken collagen specifically. So if you're drinking chicken bone broth you buy at the grocery store or making it at home or buying a product like a bone broth protein that has some chicken broth in it, that's going to be really, really great for the skin.
Okay, that makes me so happy. What about research? I know new studies and intensive research is always coming out all the time, and people get very confused about nutrition. I remember when I was growing up, fat was the enemy and
Yeah.
sugar was fine, and we could do all of those things. Is there any research that's come out in the past 5 years that's made you raise your eyebrow and go, oh, this is surprising research? This kind of changes things for us. Anything interesting that's popped up that has been surprising to a lot of experts out there?
Well, yeah, let me share a few things. I'm going to have to think on the nutrition one. I have others that are related to nutrition that I will share. Here's what I would say about nutrition that I'm absolutely certain of, and I've been certain of this most of my career. Everybody is absolutely unique. And you need a diet that's personalized for you. I mean, and I'll give you an example of this. In my practice, if I had somebody come in with cancer, I would give them more raw foods and vegetable juices and some of those foods. But if I had somebody come in with inflammatory bowel disease and I tried to give them raw foods, it would wreck them. And so what I see happen with a lot of women is they'll see, oh, my friend got on keto or my friend got on paleo or my friend got whatever. And they won't get the same results. And they'll wonder why. Well, because you're unique and you need something very unique to you. And so that's a big thing I would remember is listen to your body. Be aware of what your body is telling you. And also know you need something that's customized for you. There are some principles. Generally, people need more protein. Generally, you need the healthy fats. But again, understand you're unique. That's one thing I'd mention. A few surprising things that I've been talking about recently. Here's one. If you've ever taken birth control pills, the study specifically shows 10 years, but really it's even for 1 year. If you take birth control pills long-term, your chance of getting hypothyroidism goes up by 283.7%.
What?
So you know how many women today were on birth control for, their cycle or acne or maybe actually as a contraceptive, but they prescribe it for numerous conditions and to have a less painful period. I mean, those are all reasons. And it is one of the greatest risk factors. I can't definitively say it's the greatest risk factor, but it's one of probably the top 3 risk factors of what causes people to have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. And so that's surprising for a lot of people. I mean, think about there's a lot of women probably listening to this and they have hypothyroidism and they didn't realize, and maybe they took birth control and they didn't realize that was probably the biggest thing that pushed them into it. And here's why that is. When you take birth control, this is true with all medications. There's not a single conventional medication that doesn't pull nutrients out of your body. Okay. All of them do it. Now, birth control in particular depletes your body of almost all the nutrients you need for a process called methylation and for thyroid function. So when you look, and you can look this up, I did a whole episode on this. So if people looked up my podcast, the Dr. Josh Axe Show, or go to YouTube and look Josh Axe Thyroid, I did an episode on this in particular, but it depletes your body of vitamin B2, B6, B9, also known as folate, B12, magnesium, zinc, iron, selenium. Those are, in a nutshell, all of the nutrients the thyroid needs to function properly, and also depletes your body of probiotics. So now you're not, and this is why yeast is typically an issue. Yeast overgrowth candida when a woman is sometimes on or even right after they're getting off of birth control. So all that being said, I think that's a lot of women need to know that. That's a pretty shocking thing. And so what you want to start doing is you want to take a methylated B complex or methylated multi-nutrient that has a lot of these methylated vitamins. Methylation is where a lot of people, about 40 to 50%, they have a harder time than other people converting the B vitamins in food to B vitamins that the cells can use, including the cells of the thyroid. And so if you can take a methylated B vitamin, it's helpful. The other big thing is a probiotic, a high dose probiotic, 100 billion CFU daily. Those 2 supplements alone will make the biggest difference in your thyroid health. After that, probably taking an ashwagandha supplement and then doing a lot of warming herbs like cinnamon and ginger throughout the day, or chai teas are also going to help along with the sort of diet I recommended. So that was I think that's surprising. When I came across that research, this was just a few weeks ago, I was so shocked that nobody had talked about this before. I'd never heard anyone talk about that. So I think that was very surprising. One other thing, when I look at longevity studies, I've spent a lot of time focusing on anti-aging, living longer, and having more, not just years to your life, but life to your years. Walking is really an amazing thing to be doing. I mean, and specifically walking outside. The more that you can just go and walk outside, and it's not, you don't want to walk real slow. You also don't need to sprint. It's briskly to where you can still have a conversation, but you're breathing harder. If you can do 10,000 steps a day, it will really, really benefit you. And the other surprising thing I mentioned, women need more protein. They typically want to get 90 to 100 grams a day. Weight training is good for women. I'm more of I love the scientific evidence with nutrition, but I also know some of the principles have been around for thousands of years. I've studied a lot of Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, biblical medicine. And the reality is you need to eat real food that is aligned with your current needs. So something very specific to you. And that's the way that people, here is one nutritionally. Here's one. Sourdough bread can be a really great healing food for a lot of people. When you look at, I think bread has gotten a bad rap with the keto craze and the paleo, craze going on, and lots of other sort of the villainization of grains. Mm-hmm. But when you're comparing just your regular wheat or white bread that a lot of people eat today, it is radically different than if you use an ancient grain like einkorn wheat and do a sourdough, a fermentation process. Studies show that people with celiac disease or gluten intolerance, when they consume a bread that is truly maybe, a homemade, very good sourdough bread, a lot of people with celiac don't even react to gluten. And I mean, and this is a severe, severe intolerance for them that would typically wreck them. And so because what happens when you ferment something, it breaks down the gluten, it breaks down the sugars or the carbohydrates and creates probiotics. And so it becomes much more digestible. Now, I think people, just like honey should be eaten in moderation, as talked about in the Proverbs. I do think that bread and grains and those sort of things should be in moderation. But if you are going to consume carbohydrates or grains, true sourdough bread's one of the best. My wife has been making it for the past few years. We're good friends with Carrie Underwood Fisher and Mike Fisher. And so Carrie was posting online and Chelsea asked her for the recipe. And so we've been, been doing that the past few years. But when I started doing the research, I was just really, really blown away at really how much more nutritious sourdough is compared to regular bread.
Oh, I never would have known that in a million years. This is so fascinating. Now, I swear by omega-3s. I've been taking 1.5 grams to 2 grams of omega-3s, maybe 20 years now.
Wow.
My kids grew up taking them. And so my husband, of course, forwards me the study that recently came out that says, high doses of omega-3s has a more likelihood of putting people into AFib. I know there's a lot of talk about it. The study wasn't good. What is your take on omega-3s?
So I saw that. And I think that one of the most important things people need to do is look at multiple studies and not one study only. Listen to this. So on the percentage of studies that are false, let me ask you this.
Good.
What do you think? And this isn't my opinion. This is based on a study on studies. That was a pretty accurate study. What percentage of studies do you think are true versus false?
I am going to say 40% true, 60% false.
Yeah, I mean, you're close. It's 51.7% are false. So more than 50%. And the reason is that some study, and here's the criteria. If it was repeated, would you find the same thing? Or even something similar at all? Like, here's an example. There are several studies showing that beef is bad for heart disease. There are several studies showing it heals the heart and is good for heart disease. There are studies showing that dairy is great for your bones. There are studies showing it's bad for your bones. There are studies on tomatoes being good for you and fighting cancer. There's some showing it actually could cause cancer. So here's the reality. What's the size of the study? Oftentimes, some of these studies are done on 5 people, 20 people. Yep. The other one is, is there a financial bias of the study? I mean, that's a real problem with pharmaceuticals. I mean, that's why the most inaccurate of all studies are studies done on drugs and pharmaceuticals. The other thing is cherry picking data and omitting the other data. That constantly happens. So, and the other thing is not defining your terms well enough in the study. Here's an example. if we would go and break down those studies on beef, one increasing your lifespan, one decreasing your life. We've had both.
Mm-hmm.
The ones where it's increasing your lifespan, I guarantee it, and I know this because I went and looked at the studies, when you go and read some of the fine lines, you're going to read that those animals were grass-fed, certified organic, versus if they're not. There's a radical difference between a grain-fed conventional cow and a grass-fed, certified organic, cattle. As we go to this conversation with fish oil, you want to look at more of a meta-analysis. That's, hey, we're taking all of the quality research into consideration or multiple studies in looking at this. Now, do I think that, a lot of fish oils today can become, I don't know if rancid is the right word, but basically omega-3s oxidize very easily. So when you look at the study you're referencing, when you go look at the average person who's going and buying an omega supplement, they're actually buying most of it at their drugstore or conventional grocery store. They're buying the lowest of the lowest quality of an omega-3, and it has the greatest chance of oxidation. If you have that, it's essentially a bad fat. It's going to cause heart disease. It's going to cause exactly what you shared with me. Versus if you're doing a cod liver oil in a dark glass bottle, or an oil that's been cold pressed, or if it's the top of the top quality, I think there's quality matters. And so that's one of the issues with a study like you just quoted. Okay, you're just saying all omega-3. So you're telling me all omega-3s are bad. I can show you hundreds of studies showing omega-3s help improve ADHD, prevent stroke, prevent heart attacks, reduce inflammation, support joint health, all kinds of things. And so this is why you can't trust headlines. I mean, you got the media today and social media influencers saying all red meat is bad for you, or red meat cures whatever. And the reality is we got to keep a balanced perspective on these things. Now, listen, if you consume almost no omega-6s in your diet and you're doing 2,000 milligrams of fish oil a day, you can't overdose on omega-3s. It's possible. Yeah. Now, it would put you in probably 1% to 2% of the population. That would be incredibly rare. That's about 1% of people probably have too many omega-3s. Yeah. So it might be you, but so maybe think about that. But that's, it's likely not the case.
I have a weakness for Newman's Own salad dressing, so I get some omega.
You get a little, you're getting some omega-6s there, but yeah.
Now, as a physician, you can't comment on this, but I do want to share with everyone an omega-3 story. What turned me on to omega-3s? I have a 20-year-old, and when he was 3, he couldn't speak. He had verbal apraxia. And I found research online 20 years ago. It was not as easy to find research about a study at the University of Miami that found when you have verbal apraxia, there wasn't enough fat on the myelin sheath and the nerves of the brain. And when these children were given pharmaceutical grade omega-3s, within a couple of weeks, they started speaking. So me as a mom, I'm like, well, let me give that a shot, right? So I tell the speech therapist and I tell everyone, hey, in a couple of weeks, he's going to start speaking. And everyone rolls their eyes at me like, oh, okay, lady. And I kid you not, within 3 weeks, he started putting words together in a row. And he's still on them now. If he's 20 years old, right? You don't always take your supplements, but say a few weeks go by and he doesn't take them, you can tell in his speech. It's not as clear. There's a stutter. So no matter what potential downsides are, I will always sing the praises of omega-3s just for how important they are and the way our brains function.
The reality is this: if you are truly missing something in your diet, I mean, it can feel like it's literally a miracle happening to you, because, I mean, the same thing happens if somebody's really deficient below 20 in vitamin D. I mean, we can talk about major depressive symptoms, major hormone imbalance, weaker bones, weaker immune system, all kinds of issues. And then all of a sudden you start supplementing and boom, I mean, you feel like a different person. So yeah, that's the reality. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, one more thing about aging. And again, a lot of conversation in my circles around this. The thing that made me give up sugar was I kept reading that sugar does make your skin age more rapidly. And that was my wake-up call to give up hot tamales. What's the truth about that?
Well, sugar and seed oils, those two foods, will cause you to age more quickly than any other foods. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And of course, the seed oil conversation is very close to the omega-3s, because what you're doing is throwing off this omega-3, omega-6 ratio, causing just major cellular inflammation. Every cell in your body is made up of fat. a lipid bilayer on the outside. So when you eat inflammatory fats, you're literally inflaming every cell. I mean, it's really toxic. The issue with sugar is that it causes inflammation of the gut lining. And it's going to cause yeast and candida overgrowth. When that happens, you're now not absorbing your nutrients as well. So one, sugar directly attacks the area that's probably the most important area of your body that at least affects every other organ system, which again is your digestive system. And also, when that starts to happen, you can get a condition, leaky gut, that sugar gets in your bloodstream. Eventually your body, the insulin can't keep up or in those receptor sites. And so that just sits in your blood, just causing inflammation throughout your entire body. So those two things in particular, if you're going to focus on what do I got to get out of my diet, added sugar and seed oils. Now, I'm talking about added sugar here. You do a little bit of Manuka honey. All right. You're doing some fruit. Okay. But it's the added sugar that's the issue. And even for some people, listen, I think that coconut sugar, cane sugar, I think that these are better than conventional sugar, but they're still added sugar. Okay. I mean, at least honey is a food. I recommend typically a blend of like monk fruit with allulose or a little bit of stevia or honey or dates or fruit as sweeteners, pumpkin pie spice, those sort of things used to sweeten things up would all be better options.
We are slowly moving as a household to those things, but we still have the sugar. And I'm always telling everyone, like, the sugar really should just be for the hummingbirds. Like, let's save that for them. Let's use these healthier things. How great was that, right? I told you this is a great one, and it's only part one. As always, I'm giving away books. Share this podcast if you're listening on Instagram and Facebook, and tag me and tag Dr. Axe, and you'll be entered to win. If you're watching on YouTube, just make sure you're subscribed and leave a comment, and you'll be entered to win. And as always, I am so glad you're here. I love that we have this time together every single week to invest in ourselves, because an investment in you, in your spiritual health, in your emotional health, your professional success, and your physical health benefits everyone in your life. I believe in what's inside of you. I believe in your dreams, and I know you're making an impact on this world for good. That's why you're here every week, learning something that'll help you get healthier in every way, live the life that God is calling you to live, and improve just a little by little every day. Because God has created you to stand strong and bring something special and unique to this world that only you can bring. I love that I get to coach and equip you every week. So keep stepping up, keep showing up, and keep loving well, because you cannot break a woman who gets her strength from God. I hope you have a great day, and I'll be back with you Thursday. Okay, let's get this party started. Here we go. Nope. It's me. I'm going to get this. Okay. Today is part 1 of 2 with Dr. Joshua. And cut. Let me find out where to cut.